Sometimes you can say more in a drunken hour or so than some people get across in a life of lying low. And sometimes you can feel more for someone you...
Robert O'Hara Burke was born in County Galway in Ireland in February 1821. He had 6 brothers and sisters. His father was in the British Army. In 1840, Burke joined the Austrian Army. Then in 1848, he joined the Irish Police. Burke heard stories about the gold rush in Australia, and in 1853 he moved to Victoria. But when he arrived, the goldfields were so crowded that he decided to join the Victoria Police. Burke did well in his work, and in 1860 he was made the leader of a group that was trying to cross Australia from south to north. He was not a good choice as leader because he was known for getting lost. He was never organised and hated paperwork. He did not listen to others' good advice and often made dumb decisions. He also hated hot weather. He got the job because he made friends with important people.
William John Wills was born on the 5th of January 1834 in Devon, England. He had 3 sisters and 3 brothers. Wills became a doctor like his father. In 1853 he travelled to Australia mainly because their father developed great interest in the country. They settled in Ballarat where his dad set up a medical practice. William developed a business analysing gold. He then developed an interest in surveying and astronomy. He was appointed the surveyor for the Victorian expedition. His role was to update the maps by marking in mountains and rivers. He was also required to record the weather conditions, to sketch rocks, and most importantly to navigate the expedition through the unmapped centre of Australia. Wills left on the expedition when he was 26 years old. He became second in charge after the 56th day, when Landers resigned. Wills made detailed descriptions of the expedition, including a journal and many scientific calculations. He was a very important person to the expedition. He died at Cooper's Creek aged 27, one day after Burke died. They had succeeded in discovering the Gulf of Carpentaria and died on the return to Melbourne. Burke and Wills left Melbourne on the 20th of June 1860 at 4 p.m. from the Royal Parade. They left Melbourne from near where the Melbourne Zoo is now. They set out to try to walk across Australia from Melbourne in the south to Gulf of Carpentaria in the north. In the group there were 19 men, 25 camels, 22 horses and 6 wagons.
It took 3 months to get to Menindee. They arrived on the 15th of October 1860. Burke decided to leave some of the group at Menindee, and a smaller group would travel to the next stop at Cooper's Creek. He thought that it would be quicker to take less supplies and food. Another group would travel onto Cooper's Creek at a slower pace. Just before arriving at Menindee, George Landels, who was second in command, resigned from the expedition because a few arguments with Burke. Wills was made second in command.
Burke and Wills travelled quickly to Cooper's Creek, reaching it in just 3 weeks. They arrived on the 11th of November 1860 and set up camp to wait for the following group. After 5 weeks, Burke decided to leave Cooper's Creek with Will, John King and Charlie Gray and set off to the Gulf of Carpentaria. He did not wait for the other group to arrive to provide more food. Burke expected the trip to the Gulf of Carpentaria and back to Cooper's Creek to take 3 months. He told the remaining group to stay at Cooper's Creek, and if he had not returned in 3 months, they should return to Menindee. Wills was not as confident and asked the remaining group to stay for 4 months.
Finally, on the 10th of February 1861, Burke and Wills reached their goal of the Gulf of Carpentaria. On the way, some Aboriginal people helped the explorers. They gave them food and water. They only rested for 1 day before turning around to start the journey back south to Cooper's Creek. Burke's group did not have enough food and became so hungry and sick that they were forced to kill their horse for meat. Charlie Gray became so sick that he died on the 17th April 1861.
4 days after Gray's death, the 3 remaining men finally made it back to Cooper's Creek camp, only to find it deserted. They missed the group by just a few hours. They found few words carved into a trunk of a coolabah tree. It said, "Dig 3 feet northwest, April 21, 1860. Wills and King then paced 3 feet and dug up a bottle with a note in it and some supplies. Burke decided his group should not follow the other group and instead headed to Mount Hopeless Police Station, 240 kilometers away. After walking over 1 month, the 3 men became very, very weak and sick. Burke eventually died on the 28th of June, 1861. The following day, Wills died. Fortunately for King, he survived due to the kindness of a group of Aboriginal people.
The remains of Burke and Wills were brought back to Melbourne. On the 21st of January 1863, a funeral was held and 40,000 people lined the streets to farewell the explorers.
Sometimes you can say more in a drunken hour or so than some people get across in a life of lying low. And sometimes you can feel more for someone you've barely kissed, but you don't see it